There is a massive, massive primary in Kentucky tomorrow on Tuesday, May 19th, and that involves Mr. Thomas Massie. Now, Thomas Massie is a complicated figure. Thomas Massie came up in Congress almost a decade and a half ago now, and when he first started rising through the ranks, he came up very much as a principled libertarian. Now, I am not a libertarian. I am a conservative. I have been decrying libertarianism since college, definitely since law school, for a very, very long time there. I think libertarianism is an amateurish political philosophy. It is not in touch with human reality. It is not in connection with how human beings actually live, which is not as atomistic individuals, but in communities, in families, in tribes. We all have our religious communities and our civic communities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think libertarianism just fundamentally completely misses there. If you don't have order and virtue, frankly, then your liberty is going to go amok and will devolve into its own form of libertine tyranny. Nonetheless, Massie started as a principled libertarian, and at some point became something much, much worse than that. At this point, Thomas Massie is basically two things. One is he is a gargantuan thorn in the side of Donald Trump. And he has also become the favorite congressman of the Candace, Owens, Tucker Carlson crowd, especially now that Marjorie Taylor Greene is out doing whatever the heck she's doing, go making nice with Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar on The View, or cashing paychecks from Code Pink, or whatever the heck that she's otherwise doing there. So now that Marjorie Taylor Greene is out, and good freaking riddance to her, Massie has become the favorite congressman of this particular crowd. In fact, as someone pointed out on X yesterday, I believe it was, "You shall know him by his friends," writes Joseph Gelman on X. Thomas Massie received glowing endorsements from Code Pink, Ro Khanna, The New York Times, Al Jazeera, Hassan Piker, Mother Jones, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Summer Lee, the aforementioned Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, and Tucker Carlson. You shall know him by his friends. Very much a rule, by the way, that I live by. I think that you are judged by your friends and you are also judged by your enemies. Here was Lindsey Graham, actually. He went on Meet the Press just this past Sunday on NBC's Meet the Press. Lindsey Graham was asked about both Bill Cassidy's loss and what to expect from the Kentucky primary, where Thomas Massie definitely might lose tomorrow. Here was Lindsey Graham.
I like Bill. I thought he's a great senator, but he made a political decision. He voted to impeach President Trump, which would have ruined his political life. He could never run for office again. Massie's on the ballot Tuesday. He votes against Trump all the time. What's the headline? Trump strong. Those who try to destroy Trump politically, stand in the way of his agenda, are going to lose. Bill made a decision. What would LBJ do? Is it natural for a politician to go after people who try to destroy their political life? So Bill Cassidy's lost because he tried to destroy Trump. Massie's going to lose because he's trying to destroy the agenda. You can disagree with President Trump, but if you try to destroy him, you're going to lose because this is the party of Donald Trump.
And Donald Trump has come out swinging against Massie in the strongest possible way. So Donald Trump has had countless Truth Social posts against Thomas Massie. He had a lengthy post just on Sunday as well. He has explicitly endorsed Ed Gallrein, who is a Navy veteran. Ed Gallrein has been in the Oval Office, grinning with Donald Trump there. Here's what Donald Trump wrote, quote, "Third-rate Congressman Thomas Massie, a weak and pathetic rhino from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, a place I love and won big 6 times, including all primaries, must be thrown out of office ASAP. He is the worst, quote-unquote, Republican congressman in history, voting against tax cuts, the wall, law enforcement, and in favor of the transgender mutilization of our children, men playing women's sports, and so many other horrible things." And wow, I mean, Trump has gone all out on this one, folks. He has put a lot of money here. Pro-MAGA super PACs have poured in money into this race there. Pete Hegseth, actually in Kentucky's 4th congressional district today. The sitting Secretary of War is in the district today to campaign for Ed Gallrein. A lot of unprecedented stuff going on there. Is Thomas Massie actually going to lose? Trump has a lot riding on this one. Well, stay tuned. We'll go ahead and make a prediction after a short break, folks. One final break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. So, is Thomas Massie going to actually lose in Kentucky's 4th congressional district tomorrow? The polling is tight-ish. Ed Gallrein does have a lead in some of the more recent polls in particular, as a lot of this big money from MAGA groups, from various other pro-Israel groups as well, have come out against him. Again, folks, Thomas Massie, for a long time, was this kind of unicorn. He's a very nerdy guy. I've met him numerous times. He went to MIT. He lives in this kind of super solar paneled house that's like, it only exists on green energy and solar panels there. The dude is so nerdy, he at least used to wear this little U.S. national debt clock thing above his coat jacket, or at least affixed to it, with a literal physical ticking clock, where it was counting up every second to make you aware in real time of what the U.S. national debt is. So the dude like had some screws loose. He was very quirky, but he wasn't a bad guy. I actually sat next to him at a dinner here in South Florida, he and his now late wife, just over 3 years ago. And I enjoyed their company. Again, I have my disagreements with him. I disagree with him on certain policy issues, but I didn't think that he was a bad guy. That really has changed. It has notably changed over the past few years. Around the time that his wife tragically passed away, perhaps she was the anchor that prevented him from going off the deep end. More recently, Thomas Massie, I've seen him tweet about chemtrails there. He was posing just this past weekend with an overt actual neo-Nazi, a guy who is known for praising the Holocaust and Hitler and all the stuff there. The guy was wearing a sweatshirt that said American Reich, as in like the Third Reich. And Massey's just standing there, thumbs up with this guy. So dude has just lost his mind. Again, it's not just Israel or anything like that there. He's been a massive vote against Donald Trump on essentially everything that Trump pushes. Massey's been a thumbs down vote on basically every possible legislation, whether it's the big beautiful bill or any other thing that Trump's been trying to get across there. Massey has been a consistent thumbs down vote. So Trump has plenty of reasons to try to get rid of Thomas Massie. Massie, for what it's worth, went on ABC's This Week trying to frame this as just Israel trying to buy a congressional seat, because obviously he did that. Let's go ahead and watch this clip.
Well, the RJC, AIPAC, and Miriam Adelson and Paul Singer, they're all part of the Israeli lobby, and that's where all the money comes from. And it will be a referendum on foreign policy, whether Israel gets to dictate that by, bullying members of Congress. And I'm the one they haven't been able to bully, so they're putting all the brunt and the force on me. But you can tell that I'm ahead in the polls and they're desperate. That's why they're sending the Secretary of War to my district tomorrow. That's why the president's losing sleep and tweeting about this. That's why AIPAC has dumped another $3 million into my race this weekend. It's because they're panicked and they really haven't been able to gain a lead in this race.
Yes, Thomas Massie, because no decent American can support close U.S.-Israel relations unless you are part of the nefarious Israel lobby. You see, this is an implicit premise that these people actually believe. They actually believe that no good faith human being can actually think that Israel acts in a way that conduces to, at minimum or maximum, outwardly advances the American national interest. That is a disagreement. He's not phrasing like that, but that's disagreement. The Trump wing of MAGA, like the actual MAGA wing of MAGA, believes, among other things, that Israel is a very important ally when it comes to America's foreign policy in a particularly troubled part of the world. Above all, when it comes to containing the Iranian regime and its many proxies throughout the region. The other conspiratorial wing, the chemtrails wing, the wing that has been just dripping with obsession with the Epstein files, for unclear reasons, because of course Massie has been making common cause with Ro Khanna and Democrats being one of the leading Epstein files obsessives, because God forbid we focus on the issues that really truly matter and not heinous crimes that were committed 2+ decades ago for which the statute of limitations have expired. No. This is all about the Jews. And it's not all about the Jews, because Donald Trump, to state the obvious, is not Jewish, and he has plenty of other reasons for really just hating the way that Thomas Massie votes. Again, the dude has lost his mind. Once upon a time, he was a principled libertarian. I didn't like all his policies, but he was principled. Nowadays, he's lost his mind. Will he actually lose? Well, again, it's very hard to say. It's notable that Pete Hegseth is their campaign today. Very rare to have a sitting member of the cabinet do such a thing. Some Democrats and critics have said there's a violation of the Hatch Act, which is this ridiculous early 20th century statute that says that unless you're the president or the vice president, if you are in the cabinet, you're not allowed to engage in overtly political activity. The lawyers at the Pentagon ran this. They researched it. They say this is fine because he's going in his own personal capacity. There's no taxpayer funds there. I don't really care, to be honest with you, because the Hatch Act, in my view, is blatantly unconstitutional. As if you forfeit your First Amendment rights when you go into the government, that's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. So the entire premise of this is constitutionally problematic, and therefore I don't really care whether it's a purported violation of an unconstitutional statute. But frankly, I also trust the Pentagon's own in-house lawyers a lot more than I trust the critics on the other side. If I had to make a prediction, push comes to shove, I would actually predict that Thomas Massie goes down tomorrow. It's very, very, very hard to judge and to poll these congressional districts. It's a lot easier when you have a broader sample size, a statewide race, a governor's race, Senate race, etc. there. We will see, but this is an unprecedented amount of money, and it's a lot of writing on the line, not just for Thomas Massie, not just for the crazy caucus, the Candace Tucker cabal. It's also a lot riding on the line for Donald Trump and for MAGA himself. No doubt about that. Trump has invested a lot of eggs in the anti-Thomas Massie basket, a lot.